All right. Have you ever noticed that very few people are satisfied with the things they have? For example, someone without a home may want a small one. Someone else with a small home may want a larger one. Someone with a large home may want a mansion. Whether they are rich or poor, most people seem to want more than they already have. Do you agree with this assessment? If so, why do you think this is? Would somebody like to volunteer and tell the class whether you agree with this assessment? Have you noticed this in your own life? Okay, I will volunteer. I've noticed this in my own life. I always thought that I just wanted to be able to buy a house. Okay, living in California for as long as I did, that seemed unattainable. So we moved across the country, and about 3 years ago, my wife and I bought a house. It was a very proud moment for us. We were excited about it. We bought our house in Anderson, and now, 3 years later, our house is fine, but maybe we want to buy a bigger house. And it's funny that this is the example, because this is actually what we're going through right now. We want to buy maybe not a bigger house, maybe a house in a better location. We want to move to Greenville, right? We have more things that we want to do. Okay, you have a car, you want a nicer car. You want to trade in, or you want to go out and get that Tesla or get that newer model or whatever. Okay, it is a natural part of the human process. But why do you think this is the case? You guys are killing me. So this is the case. We never seem to have enough. This is the case because of scarcity. The fundamental problem facing all societies is scarcity. And at this time, you should be writing in your document, answering those questions and filling in those blanks. Scarcity is the condition which results from society not having enough resources to produce all the things that people want. If we had this machine that we could just type in what we want and it would boom, and it would produce it, and there was no amount of scarcity, there was no amount of lack of things, and we could just have whatever we want all the time, then you would never need to make choices. You would never need to make decisions, okay? But we live in the real world. We live in the real world where, whether we're talking about you as a consumer or a business as a producer or a country as a macro economy, we only have a certain amount of resources. We just live in a world that only has a certain number of things and only has a certain number of hours in the day. And we as a society, you as an individual, have to make choices about how you're going to spend those resources. And so thus scarcity is the condition which results from society not having enough resources to produce all the things that people want. This is going to be the fundamental problem in economics. I say, what is the fundamental problem of economics? You say scarcity. Because without scarcity, we wouldn't have to study individual decision-making units. We wouldn't have to study economy. We wouldn't have to make tough decisions. We wouldn't have to decide as a society, well, should we lower taxes or should we pay for healthcare for everybody? We wouldn't have to make that decision because there's no scarcity. But because there's scarcity, because we only have a certain amount of money as a society, we have to make that decision. Okay? And that's what politics is. Politics, going slightly back to last unit or last semester, politics is competing visions of how to spend those scarce resources. Where one side might want to cut taxes and cut spending, and the other side might want to raise taxes and raise spending. Okay? And so those are all problems that result from scarcity. Make a list of 5 things that you want and share the list with your neighbor. Why don't you already have those things? So first, do it on your Chromebook, and then share with the people around you. So really, in this world, we have either you don't have the thing that you want because of money, because you don't have the money for it, whether it's a lake house or a new phone or something that I have in my own Amazon cart, which is one of those standing desk converter things. I mean, it's just a platform that raises your computer up for you, up and down. It's $100. Do I have $100 to spend on it? I do, but just the fact that I only have certain resources, I have scarce resources, means that I don't just have the money to go out and buy that, right? Maybe I have it in my bank account, but I have to make a decision. And every time I go out and spend $100 on a standing desk converter or something like that, that's $100 that I can't now spend towards something else. So it's either money that you don't have enough of or time that you don't have enough of, okay? I would love to be able to have a PhD, okay? And the reason I don't have a PhD is one, because it costs a lot of money, and two, because it costs a lot of time, neither of which I have extra, okay? I would like to have my real estate license, but I don't have the time or the money to do that, right? So I have scarcity. I have scarce time. What should I use my scarce time on? Well, I have to decide. I would love to wake up an hour early in the morning and exercise, okay? But I don't do that because I only have that 1 hour between 6 and 7 o'clock, and I get to use it either sleeping or exercising. Now, if school started at 10 a.m., well, I would have had time to exercise this morning, right? I would have had more hours, had an extra, couple hours or hour and 15 minutes to exercise and get that hour of sleep, okay? And so when we shut down about a year ago, or 3 school quarters ago, all of a sudden I found that I had that extra time, and I was able to get all my work done and get the sleep that I needed and exercise, okay? Because I now had more time. So we can change our resources. We can have less scarcity, and all of a sudden we would have more ability to buy those things. Do you think that if you were a billionaire, that you would be using your old iPhone? Probably not, right? You probably have the newest iPhone every time. I don't know, billionaires are weird. But generally speaking, if you remove the financial obstacle, then all of a sudden scarcity becomes less of a problem for you. But rich people still have scarcity that they have to deal with. Okay? They don't have enough hours in the day. So maybe time is their scarcity. Or maybe they do have a financial scarcity, where what they want to do is solve world hunger. And even a billionaire can't solve world hunger with all their money, right? So we all have some amount of scarcity in some way. So economics is the study of how people try to satisfy seemingly unlimited and competing wants using scarce resources. So this is really going to be the study of people. We're going to study how is it that people deal with this issue of scarcity. Some people deal with the scarcity of their money by living in the moment, spending the money that they have, living paycheck to paycheck. Other people deal with their scarcity by saving. Other people deal with their scarcity by investing. People deal with their scarcity in a lot of different ways. Businesses deal with their scarcity in a lot of different ways. Okay? We're not just talking about individuals who are consumers of goods. We're talking about businesses. Business has a certain amount of money that they made in profits. Let's say your business made a certain amount of money in profits in 2020. What are you going to use those profits on? Are you going to give your employees a raise? Maybe boost morale, maybe make them work harder for you? That might be a good thing to do. Are you going to use that money to give yourself a raise? Buy that lake house that you want? Maybe. Are you going to use that money for advertising? Are you going to use that money to buy out your competitors? Are you going to use that money to increase the efficiency of your operation? Maybe buy a new machine that allows you to get things done faster, produce at a lower cost, so you can make more profits in the future? You have all these things that you want to do, but you only have a certain amount of extra money that you made. And so you as a producer, you have to make those decisions. That's economics. That decision-making process, and us studying that decision-making process, us being able to say, well, if you increase your efficiency, these are going to be the results. These are good results. That's economics. If you pay your workers more, this is going to be the result. And this is why that's a good result. That's economics. If we talk about the society as a whole, what happens in our society if we lower taxes? Well, people get to keep more of their money. That sounds good, right? But that means we have to spend less, right? So we have that trade-off. Or we have to raise the national debt. There's a trade-off as well, okay? And so as a society, we have to decide, do we want to provide healthcare for everybody, knowing that that will raise taxes, or do we want to keep taxes where they are and keep benefits where they are? Or do we want to cut taxes and cut benefits, okay? There are answers on both sides of the political spectrum to these questions, but just having the discussion means that we're talking about economics. So in your notes, answer the question, what is the difference between the words micro and macro? What does the word micro mean, and what does the word macro mean? Spires, what does the word micro mean? Small, right? Micro means small. And then the word macro, Coleman, would mean big. All right. So if micro means small and macro means big, what does microeconomics mean? Could it be as simple as small economics? Okay. In microeconomics, we study the behavior of individual decision-making units. Okay. This is going to be you as a consumer. Are you going to stop at Chick-fil-A for breakfast, or are you going to stop at McDonald's for breakfast? That would be an individual decision-making unit. Are you going to buy an iPhone, or are you going to buy an Android? Are you going to get the COVID vaccine if and when it's offered to you? At the bottom of the list, probably, unless you work at a grocery store. Okay? Are businesses going to operate in a certain way? Is a certain business going to maybe move their manufacturing location from California to Texas because of taxes? Okay. Are they going to raise or lower their prices? And how are you as a consumer going to interact with those raise and lower prices? So for example, in microeconomics, we look at how a specific company could maximize its production and capacity so it could lower prices and better compete in its industry. If two competing producers take the exact same product and producer A makes it for a lower amount, makes it for cheaper than producer B, they can sell it for cheaper and more people will buy from producer A. So how could producer B make their process more efficient? And by making their process more efficient, lower their prices. And by lower their prices, increase their revenue because more people are buying from them. But what is that point at which you want to stop decreasing your prices, where it no longer becomes worth it? Okay, all of those types of decisions, that is microeconomics. And so macroeconomics, by contrast, is macroeconomics concentrates on the behavior of entire economies. So you, as a consumer, you are part of a macroeconomic system. Okay, the decisions that you make, the job that you have, the pay that you get contributes in very small amounts to the whole entire system. Okay. If you have more money, you contribute larger. If you have a business in which you employ people, you contribute even larger. And then if you're a politician, then you might be the one who's making some of these decisions. So for example, this will look at things like GDP, which is gross domestic products, and how it is affected by changes in unemployment, national income, rate of growth. All of the individual decision-making units will contribute to a gigantic picture that is macroeconomics. Okay? But then the decisions that are made on a governmental level will also contribute to that, right? If we raise taxes, how does that change unemployment? If we increase spending, or decrease spending, how does that change unemployment? How does unemployment change the amount of money that's going in and out of the economy? How does the unemployment of your neighbor affect you?